Good morning. Welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Excited to be with you guys this morning. We are here for a tenacious Tuesday, and Steve Nudelberg is on the counter host is on the train on the way up to West Palm and will be joining us here shortly. So until then, you have Shay and I to welcome you into the day, get this thing going. But yesterday was cool because I feel like Jen got an unbelievably warm welcome. I got a ton of people who reached out who said, love the huddle, love the show, love Jen. Really awesome stuff.
We didn't even touch into the comedy bit, but she has some zingers in there. So
yeah, I mean, like my dad kind of got there where he was like, yeah, some of the comedy makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. You know, she's edgy. Her stand-up routines are edgy. She talks about some really forward stuff.
Check her out, Jen Lederer on Instagram and all that.
For sure. And I know she had reached out to me last night and said that a bunch of people had reached out to her and that she had already had some virtual coffees set up. So thank you to the Huddle community for welcoming her in so warmly. Thank you for reaching out and connecting with her. And then, as Jake Nudelberg mentioned, yes, this is almost like a throwback day because you see
King's
that
chair
in the background. That's right. It is Johann's. And then I got a great story about yesterday. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to have lunch with somebody from my way back past. And how I ran into them was how I normally run into people was through LinkedIn. And so I was doing my normal work of reading the feed, engaging with the feed. And I saw that somebody had commented on a post that was name kind of looked familiar. But they had, there he is. So I'm telling a LinkedIn story. Welcome. Let me finish the LinkedIn story.
Okay.
So there's something that intrigues me about him. So I go to his page, and his comment was something funny about packing a car full of kids. And so I go to his page, and I see he's a Knoll. So I'm like, oh, great. Let me shoot him a connection request. Hey, go Knowles. Would love to add another Knoll to the tribe. Da-da-da-da. Same deal, right? He comes back, and he goes, Mark, do you not recognize me? And I'm like, shame on me, I don't. He goes, it's Billy, Coach Elder's son. Coach Elder was my high school football coach. Billy was 5 years younger than me and used to hang out at our football practices. And I was like, oh my God, Billy. And so Billy travels back and forth between Atlanta and South Florida, and him and I got the opportunity to grab lunch yesterday. But just another story about how LinkedIn connects you to new people and old people. And you never know where they come from.
You just never know. I had a new coaching client yesterday, Cynthia Barnes, gave her some tools and gave her some inspiration. Her first post went through the roof because I said, what'd you do this weekend? She went fishing. She goes, and she said it to me. She goes, hey, listen, fishing has a lot to do with being in sales and da-da-da. I go, you got it. I go, share that. Boom. She had a picture of her fishing. And so there she is. There she is.
Hold on. Not only fishing, with the fish she caught.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's so great because then she comes back to me and said, you inspired me. And that's what this is all about. It's education, and it was such a fun, time. When someone has their aha moment, you never know at what point in the first couple of sessions she was bang. So please give a big welcome to Cynthia Barnes. She's great. She has an organization that focuses strictly on women in sales. She's fantastic and great to have her here. So good morning, Cynthia. Thank you.
Good morning, Cynthia. Welcome to the roster. And then, the feed. And so you hit on something there. It's about education. You shared that post yesterday about the way the coaching staff has grown. That to me is, I've always cherished the word coach. I've always thought that it's meant something so important. It's meant you know, to be a mentor, an educator, you know, a motivator, somebody who pushes you out of your comfort zone, but not just to push you out of your comfort zone, to teach you, to move you, to give you the tools to be able to do it on your own. And so, like, I'm so proud of that picture, because when I look at those people that are on there, yeah, there's the picture, Shay. Like, these people are educators. These people are, they are insatiably, you know, their desire to learn is just on another level. And the way they teach and motivate and move others is what sets them apart from any other coach. So, you know, in a world where the word coach gets thrown around far too often and way too many people claim that title that aren't deserving of it, I'm proud of the staff that we have so far.
And for anybody that even questions what your role is, I was done. I wasn't building anything again. You know, I've built them. They've crashed and burned, and I built them again. This is your baby. This is something you wanted to do. And when I posted yesterday and I said, I've watched you dream of being a head coach, I don't think you ever dreamed that you would have a staff like this in a business like we have. You know, you only thought of it in sports, but the same principles apply. I mean, it is absolutely the same. You know, one of the things about Dan Campbell that I really loved was he surrounded himself with great people.
Yep.
You know, with guys that have played in the league. When you look at the talent pool on that, you know, with Lori, who's amazing, Jen, you know, Gino is just a rock star. And I've known Gino for a long time. So, and what's interesting is I've teed you up with the opportunity. You've digested it, spit some people out, brought some people in,
that
but it is,
is
clearly you.
And I think that, like, you know, the old saying, trust your gut or whatever. The one commonality between all of those people is that after the first time that I met them, I just wanted to be around them more. I didn't care how we would find something to do together. I just knew in my mind, there's got to be more time for us to spend together, which I think is a great quality in a coach.
Well, let me tell you something. Like, I don't know what's in the water this morning, but David Aarons is here. I'm wearing a special blazer for you, my friend. Sean Flood is coming from Ireland, man.
Yeah.
So he's already too deep into Guinness. So just some really great folks this morning. Nicholas, Nick Mao, your post this morning, the waterworks.
Yeah.
Man.
No
I'm
doubt.
loving it, sharing it, and you know.
And I've never been to the Jetway Cafe, which he shouted out in there, which looks like a great spot to eat right on the runway with all
that's
the
that's where I had lunch with Julia Aquino, and it's just a cool spot. The food's great.
Right.
It is all business people. So, you know, if you get there at noon, you got to wait. We get there. The tip is get there at 11:30. Sit, bullshit for a while, then have lunch. But, you know, it's really good stuff.
I love it. Well, we've got Huddle headlines for you this morning. We've got Gary V dropping some unbelievable content that we'll unpack. But before we get to any of that.
Actually, the first time in a bit that he's dropped something I think is worth.
Right. Agreed.
He's been spouting shit for the last 6 months. That's just like garbage.
Maybe longer than that. Right?
He started out as the guru. You know, I was in his office and I was totally dialed in. Joe Mullings went after, you know, that roadmap, but he stopped. This one's a doozy, so stick around.
Let's wake up before we get to any of that.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Come on! Wake up, everybody! Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody! No more sleeping in bed. No more about to thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on
now. Before we get into the headlines, I want to stay on this thing about coaching. So I met Cynthia Barnes when I spoke in West Palm Beach. I was the early speaker, did my dance. She was like, came up to me and she said, that was amazing. You really inspired me. I love your content. I want to connect with you. Little did I know that in the time that in between, she did research, And she came on guns blazing saying, I'm ready to go. I want to hire you. I want to get better. And so the point I'm trying to make is that coaching is a very personal decision.
Yeah.
When you decide you want to get better, that investment comes back to you tenfold, but you gotta make the investment. There's no one that can push you to do it. It's a personal choice. And so kudos to those that do. She was surprised. I think a lot of people are surprised that I have a coach. Like
everybody's got to have a coach.
Everybody's got to have a coach. So anyway, go.
So let's go. Shay, give us the Huddle headlines because we got some great headlines to get to today. This one's a doozy because I think it falls into the lines of like, do the same thing over and over and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. Well, Velveeta is not doing that, right? Velveeta was a little stagnant. They said, we're no longer going to put out the same macaroni and cheese commercials. And Velveeta did a marketing campaign where they came out with a bunch of different cheese-flavored, cheese-scented different ideas. One being the cheese-scented nail polish, and another one being the Veltini, which is a Velveeta martini made with cheese-infused vodka, and it is working. They've used this to create some more awareness for Velveeta, bring it back to the top of people's minds. Sales have gone up. People have gotten more interest into Velveeta. My question to you, sir, is
I know what you're
a cheese martini.
Okay. So here's my point. Here's my comment. I don't think anybody's buying the nail polish. I don't think anybody's doing the martini, but they show up in people's minds differently. It's not just cheese. They're having fun. They're irreverent. They're showing up differently, which is what Laura's showing.
Cheese flavored nails. It sounds disgusting.
The whole thing is that, but you know what? The next time you think of cheese, Velveeta owns a spot there.
As soon as you walk by it in the grocery market, if you are, or if you do your groceries online and you're scanning it, as soon as you see it, it pulls that feeling. It creates that emotion. So to me, when we talk about brand, I'm always talking about how brand is a feeling. You always talk about brand being an expectation.
Look at this. Look at this. Lainey would buy the nail polish.
But point being,
I happened to partake in some Velveeta mac and cheese last night because the daughter was partaking in that as well. So I finished it up.
So, like, to me, the point being here is that when you talk about these things, it triggers you. It gives you an emotion. It gets you going, and it works for people, which is why Velveeta sales have increased. So they're increasing that brand by showing up differently, by getting out of the mold, if you will.
Now, here's what's kind of interesting. There are more pictures going to be taken today than at any time in creation before. It's just the nature of and it used to be common practice to say cheese. What happened to that? What happened to say cheese? You know what? Somebody's got to own Say Velveeta.
I don't know, but this cheese conversation is getting a little cheesy for me. So I'm going to move on to the next to the next headline, which is the rise of worker productivity score. Meanwhile, Nike is closing their office for a well-being week. So for those of you who have not heard of this productivity score, right, there are companies out there that are downloading softwares to laptops to monitor the work you do throughout the day to ensure that you are working when you're supposed to be working so that you can work from home, right? Unbelievable.
Okay.
That something that's happening here. Go ahead.
So, Shay, can you give me no?
What the hell's going on out here?
What the hell's going on out here?
Okay, so I have said forever the biggest problem in sales is trust. Right. Internal trust. Management, ownership, leadership does not trust the people that work for them. when you don't trust somebody, you're going to look for all of the things that they do that are not in line with production. But what the hell, what does it matter? The reality is, if you're producing the right numbers, that's all that should matter. Because I've always said, listen, you could do it your way, fine. If you don't produce, then you got to do it my way.
Right.
But putting productivity shit on your computer and
it's unbelievable. It's the ultimate form of, oh my God, Lori hits it right on the head. It's the ultimate form of micromanagement, which to me, there is no micromanagement happening in a high-performing organization.
No.
Let's get that very clear. The reason organizations perform at a high level is because they have unbelievable trust and relationship. Like, I love the people that are like, oh, we need a team building event, so let's get on a happy hour Zoom. That's not a team building event, right? That's a waste of time is what that is. Team building is where you force people, or you give people the opportunity to learn about each other, build relationships in order to have trust with each other, because that's what it takes to be successful as an organization, so that you have the opportunity to set expectations and then hold people accountable to expectations, not to daily micromanagement of how many hours you spent on your computer, but of show me how you're living and breathing our core values and our behaviors that we know make us successful.
So, for me, I think humans are fundamentally programmed to want to be in a system. It becomes easy. So, are you kidding me? Pepsi Mexico plant times bathroom breaks.
Right. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? So, and I love, oh God, Laura Sherwin's using my language. Like, people don't have the right feedback loop. Therefore, they have to result to micromanagement. Amen. Right? Like, I had this conversation with the city leaders last week. The 4 core principles to being a leader are observation, right? Communication, right? Education, and then holding people accountable. So if you live in those 4 places and you're doing those 3 things before you jump to an accountability metric, if you're sitting there saying, let me observe what you're doing, let me oversee it, let me get some feedback from you on how you're doing and what you're doing, and you're creating the conversations that lead you to success, you end up not having to have a productivity score. You end up not having to measure those metrics because you're talking about the things that matter.
I want to take the conversation sideways and talk in terms of parenting. My role as a parent wasn't to micromanage you and make decisions for you. My job was to give you the tools so that you can make the right decisions on your own. Correct. And I talked about that a lot.
That's leadership.
Well, that's what leadership is. I can't be everywhere you are, don't want to be everywhere you are. And ultimately, if you make bad decisions, that's on you. But it would be on me if I didn't give you the tools. And so I did. I did that to you and your brother. I made very sure. Why isn't that a part of, business leadership? Give me the fucking tools.
And that's what doesn't happen in most one-on-ones, right? Like, I think people need to understand that in a one-on-one scenario with somebody that you're responsible for, that needs to be a conversation that is educational, right? That is give and take from both people to get insight into what's happening, and then offer them the tools needed in order to make the decisions or learn from previous decisions in order to make them successful. Yet most people are just checking the box. Did you do this? Did you do this? How many of these did you do? And they're just running through this agenda to say, okay, great. Let me know if you need my help. And then kicking people out the door to get to the next one, right? Like, there can be one-on-ones that happen in 3 minutes. There could be one-on-ones that happen in 45 minutes. You can't hold them all to the same standard because it all depends on what conversation you're having. What problems are you uncovering, and what then needs to happen in order for you to be able to educate them to walk out of there armed to be successful?
I mean, did I ever tell you to do something just because I said so? That's the most ridiculous comment ever, yet sales leaders and business leaders do it all the time. They talk about soft skills. I think soft skills are bullshit. I think it's real skills like empathy, like, hey, I understand you're going through a tough time. What can I do to help you get through that? That's real leadership. That's understanding you for you. And how can I, and this is so significant in terms of goal setting. I never set anybody's goals.
Right.
You know, I had a goal for the business, and then I had a vision of where I thought you should be. But if you said to me, here's where I think I am, I would ask one question. Why do I see you differently than you see yourself? And if you're open to it, I can coach you to the next level, because life changes at the next level. Everything changes. So I can't make you do it, but if I empower you to see yourself differently and grow, man, you know, and that's what this is all about. This whole conversation, this great resignation, is I'm not going to work for an asshole anymore. Just not going to do it.
It's a change in leadership. It's a change in coaching. It's a change in the way we go about the development of each other. And just real-time example of how I put this into practice in football was, you know, each practice was segmented into a certain amount of minutes, right? We had 7 minutes, or we had 10 minutes, or we had 15 minutes for a special teams period. I let the guys know up front, here's what we need to get done. I got 8 scenarios that we need to practice. If we practice all 8 of these scenarios in 4 minutes, I'll give you the 10 minutes back. You own the rest of the time. I don't care. I'm not here for the time. I'm here for the work. So if we can get the work in and get it done and get it done the right way, it's up to you how fast we can get that done.
So Hayden, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying soft skills are not important. I'm saying they shouldn't be called soft skills.
Right.
I think
they're not soft skills.
They're not soft
skills. These skills.
That's bullshit. They're essential. Essential skills. Soft skills gives it a meaning like, they're mamby-pamby. I don't really need that. Bullshit.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. Like the skill to be able to observe somebody and then have a real conversation with them where you're able to disarm them and get them open to some influence and get them open to be able to share with you in order to have a real development conversation. There's nothing soft about that. You have to be highly skilled in your ability to communicate in order to do that.
We didn't get to Gary Vee. We'll do that tomorrow. But Scott Oglesby, good for you, because this is a drop the mic comment. A friend loves you for who you are. A mentor loves you enough not to let you stay where you are. That's exactly all absolute growth. Iron sharpens iron.
We're gonna drop it. We're gonna drop the mic on that, Scott. I mean, that's a great way to end the show. I love that. Great conversation about mentorship and about how to lead in the coming ages. We will see you tomorrow. It is time to get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.